welcome back to Common Ground. I'm here with my sister again. Having a great time.
Yes, we are.
Got
Too
coffee.
good of a time.
Yes.
Whatever. There's no such thing.
No such thing. And so we are sort of covering women,
Ladies.
being Muslim, all that great stuff. And so we've kind of had 2 episodes before this and talking about both of those topics. And so now we're kind of finalizing the last one. This is, I think, the most interesting. And we are very excited to kind of get into this. It'll be fun.
Because I have much to say.
Yes. So this one, yes. The last one is kind of meshing the first ones together. So we're doing Muslim women in power and leadership roles in society, which is super fun. Cool. Okay, so background, right? We'll give some background. If this is their first time watching the show. I myself have a background in politics. I've worked on some really great political campaigns in the past. And I'm clearly very passionate about politics. Yeah, where we've gotten to this point that we're making a podcast about it now. And then Sarah, you worked in corporate law as a paralegal on an all-female team.
On an all-female team, with the exception of one attorney. But other than that...
No, we love men. We're...
Yeah, which is, I'll tell you, very, very rare if you've ever worked in big law before or seen how leadership structures look.
Yeah.
Just demographics-wise, for a law firm, it is heavily, heavily male.
Totally.
And heavily, heavily white males. Love y'all, but there's
it's problematic.
It's problematic for people like us. And this is why this conversation I think is exciting, is because I truly believe that seeing more representation of like what for us is Muslim women in leadership roles, whether that be on a board of executives, the C-suite executives. You want to see people that look like you, represent you, because they're going to they're going to run a country that's like important to those values.
Yes. So
I had this is awesome.
You were
in college.
You were Rosie the Riveter for Halloween.
I wasn't even. Yeah, I was her for Halloween, but beyond that was the first like poster I had in my college dorm room.
Yes, I'm gonna buy that
right above my bed. Hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, this is who you describe to me.
If I have no, first of all,
growing up,
look at
my sons.
No. Yeah, exactly. My sons. Forget if she's my child.
Can you imagine if you walked into like a guy's dorm room and they had Rosie Riveter and you're like, I will marry you.
I would be like, I have found
the
my
love
husband
of my life. You are the love.
I have
of
found
my life.
That's a plug for like dudes for show.
Get yourself a Rosie Riveter poster, and I'm telling you, the ladies will roll it.
Yes. Anyways, because that was like, I don't know, that is so emblematic of a team of like, we can do it.
Yeah.
Because you continuously have to tell yourself like it's you feel like me against. The man, the patriarchy, and I hate to like. Part of me is always kind of this internal conflict of like I want to address the patriarchy, but I also don't want to like fall into this trope of it is like feminism against patriarchy, and you're one or the other. I don't know, this very kind of like dichotomy approach to the world, and I don't really like it.
Though too is like feminists get this weird bad rep. I remember when I started working for Hillary, and I feel like once I started working for Hillary, I was like, okay, you're I was labeled as the feminist person, right?
Yeah.
Like that was like amongst like
and at that time I feel like
the like characters around me, and like I remember for a while I was like really nervous that it would turn off guys, because how guys sometimes are like, ugh, feminism, like don't shove it down my throat, and it's like kill me, like literally kill me that you're like so.
No, people just, it's not even just like feminism, it's like
like the definition
people
of feminism,
get exhausted about having
actually like put up the Merriam-Webster dictionary of like feminism. It's literally asking for equality economic,
I wrote this,
political equality.
In college I wrote this policy brief. It was like it had to be like 10 to 15 pages long, and the topic I chose was the wage gap between men and women, and how
the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of sexes. Oh my God, it's like that's all we're asking for. We're asking for the same thing you already have.
Yeah, but it's like the brief itself that I wrote was just about like, you know, how institutionally are these structures built for us to sustain?
How they're built for men, right?
But it's like, yeah, exactly. How can we break the reason, like, inequality is sustainable because of the way our institutions run?
Yes.
And how do you break that? By allowing women who are also decision makers, who are in leadership roles, to make decisions that are going to break the, you know, what is it? The kind of the scale that is weighing heavy on one side, which is with
like
respect
the
to men.
whole idea. Remember how Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she, you know, they famously ask her, like, when will you be satisfied with the Supreme Court, as in, like, terms of, like, when it's achieved, like, maybe equality? And she was like, when there's a full female court.
Yeah, maybe when we have to stop having quotas for how many...
well, but it's like, for how long? Because people will be like, some guys will be like, what? That's ridiculous. That's not fair. And it's like, do you know how long there has been an all-male court? For, like, you know how, when was it, like, who was the first one? For the first female justice was, like, not that long ago. I mean, like, in the 1900s, yes, but, like, oh my God, you know, it's terrifying.
RBG was also one of the only women in her class at Harvard Law School, which is a class of 500 men. She was the only woman.
Think about that, she was just a ratio.
Yeah, it's all just, like, absorb that information. But she... Even, you know, she was asked, she was posed with the question, like, did you feel as though when you were a law student, did you feel like you were, you know, because you were the only women in your class, did you feel as though a sense of responsibility of, like, shit, whatever you say,
right? You
are going to be the representative for women. Yeah. And she was like, 100%. She's like, when I would speak in class, she was like, you know, every single man in the room would look at me and they would listen to me with the same intensity of, like, this is how women all across the country think and believe and feel. And so she felt this, like, sense of responsibility. And just a quick shout out to RBG, because just in terms of, like, women's rights and fighting for women's right through the judicial system, this woman has fought every single decision she has made, has been narrowly focused on, you know, progressing women's rights.
Well, also remember the whole story when she talks about
shifting the institution so that it allows for that.
Well, like, the institutional problem, but so like the whole, people don't understand, like, inequality, sexism is a systemic issue, right? She tells a story, RBG, about when she was in law school, how the building that she took her classes in, because there had never been a female student, there was no female bathrooms. So she would have to walk over to, like, a couple buildings to go to the bathroom. Jesus Christ, like, the building hadn't even considered the fact that women would go there, right? Yeah. You're like, oh my God, that's a systemic issue, right? Yeah. Like, but so the fact that she went there, and I'm sure even more women obviously went there, that there are female bathrooms. And it's just, but
this is what we mean by, like, seeing women in leadership roles. Now, that's amazing. But this is where I'm going to use as a jumping off point, because even in my personal experience working in a large corporate firm, right? You mentioned this earlier. My team was awesomely so, like, majority women, with the exception of one dude. It was all women. I worked exclusively under female partners. Yes.
And the partners were, like, badass women.
They were badass women. They were the what is it? The breadwinners in their homes. Their husbands each were stay at home. #goals. Okay. But they lived very exhaustive, like, lives. Nonetheless, that was the first time I really witnessed what it's like to have children, but also trying to have a successful, thriving business career.
Yeah, totally.
And I saw them struggle with it, like, an insane amount. But nonetheless, like, and in that experience that I had while working in a big law firm, I got to see women in leadership positions, and it was awesome. Right. You know, we have seen our country. It's not that we don't see it; we just don't see enough of it. Mm-hmm. But
that's the thing, right?
This is where I want to make my point, is that even in all those women, I never saw one woman that was
how we look like.
Not even Muslim. Okay, I'm talking about of a minority background, Hispanic,
yes,
brown,
yeah,
Asian. I'm not kidding you when I say this.
Yeah, they were all white.
I honestly have to pause and think about all the partners that worked in that firm and for that office.
Were they any sort of minority background?
No, I'm really have to stop and hesitate. No one comes to mind.
That's crazy.
And I think
and this is like a successful law firm, and
yeah, they're great.
There's no shortage of like minorities coming from like really great universities, either from really great law schools.
And
right?
you see what's great is that you see first year, second year associates that are hired now in that firm, and I think it's because we're waiting for the age kind of to shift. Yeah. But the early kind of associates,
are
far more diverse,
right? No, totally.
Which is awesome. But you don't see that many people with a minority background in those like leadership positions, and that's key. And that's key. And also, I mean, just to jump off on that with respect to like, this isn't really a narrowed conversation to just being Muslim, because I feel like this conversation really just touches on how, why don't we see enough minorities being represented in leadership roles. And when we talk, this is not exactly what we're talking about, but I just watched this the other day. It was Gina Rodriguez, her 73 questions.
Yeah.
And she was asked with like 73 questions with Vogue. Yeah. It's like this fast interview style that they do. Yeah. And they asked her this question of, what do you want to see change in the film industry or something of the sort. And she said, she hit him with like statistics. She was like, I think in 2016, but she's like, in 2016, out of all speaking roles that were made, like, produced in Hollywood, I don't even know if that's just feature or short films or whatever, but she said out of all the speaking roles, Hispanic and Latinos made up 5%.
5%, and and it's like, huh?
And she was like, that's out of like some
millions of
like
people.
50 million like projects.
Yeah, and you're like,
you're stunned, and then I'm like, I can only imagine
how many other Asian people are Muslims, right? So like, you can kind of name up on your fingers, one hand, how many Muslim actors we know. Let's be honest, and the stories that they're being told, the stories that really matters, and that's kind of a different topic. We don't want to go into like Hollywood and all that stuff. But I mean, kind of today,
another day.
Pandora's box,
Yeah, exactly.
So reeling it back a little bit more, and I wanted to talk about. A lot of people ask me, right, in like interviews that I do, they're like, what do you want to do in 5 years, or where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what brought you to like this profession or whatever. And the interesting part is, and this is kind of specific to politics, right? Growing up, where we grew up, our legislators did not look like us at all. I mean, let's be honest. Any sort of female legislator was typically white, right? So growing up, and the whole premise of, a congresswoman or a legislator is that they're like your representative, aka they're going to represent your values and in your interests in DC or Washington. I mean, in Washington or in the Capitol. And so, how are they going to look out for you when they like don't even know you exist, almost, right? Yeah. And so, like, that was one thing.
Or if they don't have friends like you,
right? They don't know they don't understand the struggles, and like that's something. It's like there's a lack of knowledge, right? So it's like they're not going to be aware of it if they don't even know its existence. And so for me, it's like when I work and people ask me like, what do you want to be in 5 years? It's like, I would love to be working on a Muslim, Pakistani, ideal, but like a Muslim woman's race, right?
Even if that means that's your race. Like, I don't know, it's like,
right, like
that's where we're at.
Even like right now, right, we don't have any female Muslim legislators, right, in Congress. We don't.
Do we not?
No, we don't. For sure, we don't. I don't think we ever had, honestly, TBH.
But also, but that's where I'm like, it's already difficult for a legislator to be male and Muslim. Okay,
Obama, who wasn't even Muslim,
like, think about
got so much flack.
Yeah, I was like, throwback to when
Muslim,
Obama was like chastised for
potentially being, but even Muslim,
being
right?
even like barely like
associated
with being Muslim. And I'm like, what if we can't even get a dude who has bears the privileges,
but is like an educated, like, right, has like a proven track record, has experience, is showing up to do the job. It's like, no, your potential belief is problematic, right? It's like, what? No. So, like, and then what's cool, though, okay, so there was a legislator who I looked up, I remember, her name's Ilhan Omar. She was elected, though. And she is a Somali American. She's Muslim. She's the first Muslim legislator to be elected into the House of Representatives in Minnesota. She wears a hijab.
Minnesota.
She's a cute little lady. You should look her up. She's really gorgeous, actually.
Shout out to Minnesota.
Minnesota's actually really progressive, not gonna lie.
That's what's up.
But look
doesn't
at that.
Minnesota have like a large
No, that's
brown
Michigan.
community?
That's in Michigan.
I think
maybe.
Minnesota might.
Maybe.
One of my friends is from
But
Minnesota,
I know
and
Michigan
he has
has
like a lot of... He has like a brown friend, which I'm like, whoa.
Oh, well. Michigan's definitely like a heavily Muslim area. But yay. So we have this woman who like wears... Like, she's a person of color, and then she's a Muslim, and then she's female. Like, what?
And she's a she.
She
yeah, exactly.
also is a legislator now, which is incredible. And that's the thing, right? So we want to make sure there's representation for everybody. So, like, you should think, we think that, or we hope that Congress should be reflective of every community across the country.
Right.
And so...
Question, though,
Congress
right?
is like white
here's something to, like, ask
right
them for ourselves. Is it because... I think the answer, I have an answer for this, but I think it's a combination of both factors. But do you believe, I think I do know what you believe.
Sure.
But I mean, do you think there aren't enough, like maybe Muslim women
in politics
that are trying to, pursue a legislative position, and that's why we don't see enough of them? Or do you think it's, and I obviously believe there's more heavily so. Totally. There's a systemic issue that's just not I don't know, providing them the access to opportunity that's opening the gateways for them. But I mean, really, because you have to ask yourself at a certain point, like, are we not seeing many of them because they're not actually so this is running for those positions?
I think there's a couple of explanations for that. I think it's kind of an interesting point to say, because
that's a good number to find out, like how many Muslim women actually run for office. And what's their success rate?
Well, see, that's kind of hard to pull that out. And I don't think there's that many women, obvious, right? But so the thing is, I think it's interesting, right? So this kind of goes back to our first sort of segment, and we were talking about being raised Muslim, right? So I think even growing up, like for me, our parents, like really, I mean, like ideally, honestly, my dad would want all of us to be lawyers. Or not lawyers, sorry, doctors. All of us. None of us are doctors. But I think growing up as children of immigrants, you are raised in a way where just be successful, right? Yeah. Regardless of like your dreams, just like make money and be able to have a sustainable life. That was kind of like
have a comfortable life, because our parents didn't live a comfortable life.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It's really that simple.
So like your dreams kind of take a backseat, right? And so growing up, I think a lot of children of immigrants aren't necessarily told like, hey, follow your dreams, right? I mean, we do it regardless because
bizarre concept,
right? It's a bizarre concept because for them, it's like they listen to their parents and say their parents told them, hey, if you do this, you're gonna be successful and you will earn money and you'll be able to take care of your family. And so in their mind, when they migrated here, that was like a far out kind of idea to migrate into a different country, right? And so that was like their far out dream. And when they did it, they were like, oh, it was so hard. So rather just put your head down, work really hard, and just live a comfortable life like you were saying before. But the thing is, it's like, we didn't do that. And I think now a lot of people are slowly, like, 'cause even like our generation, there's a lot of people I know who are in STEM majors, which is incredible, which is great.
So you're saying that's why we don't see enough?
I think that could be a part. I don't think it's like the all of it. But
that's an interesting point, because that's culture.
Like for me, right? Like I don't know that many people who work in politics that are brown. I often am the only one, and when I even work on campaigns, I'm one of maybe like 3, and in a group of like 200, right? You're like, what the whoa. But so it's like for me, it's I think that's also a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of women, I think we need to let them do whatever they want to do, right? So and if we let women pursue careers in like creative fields or like humanities fields, and like, hey, go into Hollywood.
Maybe that's a discussion people need to have, like Muslims with Muslims, and by that I mean
I agree.
Muslim parents with their Muslim children,
yeah,
or whatever. Brown people that have Asians that have that mentality of like, live a comfortable life by whatever means necessary.
Right.
And, that means don't pursue the more creative pathways because it's not necessarily going to give you the security that, a doctor or a lawyer job would give you.
Yeah.
And I think, there's something to that. Like, that's a conversation that, like, communities should be having with each other. Yeah. Because I think even our personal experiences, we don't see a lot of our friends pursuing creative pathways. And when they do, it is awesome.
And they flourish.
And they've done so well.
But it's like a sphere, right? It's like a sphere that, like, that's not the most easily comfortable life to live.
Yeah, you don't have the safety of security.
Right, there's like no like, you know, consistent paycheck or whatever, but also at the same time, it's like something you're good at or something you are passionate about, and like that's not always a priority, you know, as we grow up and as we're raised. But then at the same time, if you do something you're passionate about, you're gonna go further in life. And so like going back to like this whole power and leadership role thing, we've realized that like, so obviously we're talking about like our personal experiences and like in our particular fields, but like, you know, regardless, if Muslim women are in leadership roles, that allows young girls to say, hey, oh my God, I can do that too, right? Like growing up, who do we remember who's Muslim? Like not that many people. I remember the one person Mama always mentioned growing up, or not growing up really, I was in college, and it was Huma Abedin.
Yeah, I know, I was about to say that.
Huma Abedin is, I think she still is, Hillary's right-hand woman, and she's Muslim and she's Pakistani, right? She's just like, so the cool story about Huma Abedin is that she was an intern in college for Hillary when she was first lady, right? That's how she started off. She was an intern in her office, and just became like a trusted confidant and continuously followed her career. So when Hillary was senator, she worked with her there. There's Huma Abedin.
Also, just talk about how fierce she looks. Like on top of just being like beside one of the most powerful women in the world.
Like she herself is like an HBIC.
Yeah, I was like, then
what it is? Right?
The what? The good shit for you, but
hashtag gold.
All right, Anthony Weiner, and you. Holding back words. A dumb man.
But yes, so now she followed Hillary to when she worked in the Senate, and then she went and followed her to Secretary of State, and then of course when she ran for president both times. So look at her, you know. And I remember when I saw her, and
my mom would always
refer to her. She's like, Kinza, you are the next Huma Abedin. And I was like, oh my God, it's possible, you know, like you can do it, and like she's doing it. She's living her best life. I remember TBT, like, she got a lot of flack for being Muslim. And I remember this whole thing came out where they were like, oh, she has, like, ties to ISIS or, like, whatever, you know, when all that came out about her being Muslim. And I remember John McCain came out and was like, she's a great woman.
Yeah.
She works really hard. Don't attack her on her faith. That's wrong. And it's like, thank you. We need people like that. Be like, yes, there are bad Muslims out there in the world. Yes, but to be fair, there are bad Jewish people, there are bad Christians.
There's bad
people, right? And they happen to have a faith too. And so there's also good people. And so changing the face of Islam is really important, but also we can do that by getting, you know, roles.
We can do it.
We can do it by, you know, getting into leadership roles. Work really hard.
That really is, though, something like that. I think, like, women, us, like, as young adults.
Yeah.
As young Muslims,
yeah,
that I think is one of the, you know, largest advantages we can give back in terms of giving back to our community.
Right.
That is probably one of the
is being like a weird unidentified role model.
It's
right?
a steadfast way to really make it so that we can uplift our community and like see more minorities is by get into a position that you're going to be a manager, a leader, someone who has a role where you can make decisions.
Yeah.
Make important, valuable decisions that are going to impact your community and minority communities around the world.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool way to think about, like that's how I can give back.
Yes. Because also at the same time, people say, like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to take care of me and my own, right? And that's great, right? But at the same time, like, if we want to help our own kind and make it easier for generations and you know, we want to, like, you want your people to succeed, right? That's
and
like
I think,
that's
why this...
And that's only going to happen when we step up and say, hey, you know what? It's bigger than me, right? You need to say, hey, I'm going to step into a leadership position that I don't necessarily need to do, but I should, because I have a responsibility to help my kind, to get further in this country.
That's why I think, like, this topic between the 3 episodes that we've done so far is my favorite, is because truly I believe this is a tangible solution to
the right. So
what we've been discussing.
Yeah, be part of the conversation, right? Open up conversations with people who look different from us.
Yes, exactly. That aren't you.
Yes,
that are outside of your community, but don't necessarily shouldn't get shut down because they just don't understand. No. they have a willingness to understand, and I think stereotyping.
Majority of people do want to. Maybe
every
there
single
are some people who don't want to have that conversation.
But think about it. Like, how many times have you had a conversation with someone that has grown up in a very different community than we grew up in, or have had a different experience but are still our peers, who are not willing to engage in that conversation?
Oh, well, but it's the whole idea of it's like you just don't want to be misunderstood, right?
But it's like, I would say like. I can probably count like maybe a few people on like one hand.
Yeah.
Or like one-off weird interactions
I've had. But also, I can
like,
understand the hesitance, right? Because you don't want to... I can see people, right? I can see how people take the easier route and they're like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be the mouthpiece for all of Muslims. And I get that.
But there's a way to talk about it without coming off so... Like,
totally, but you have to like...
Extreme.
At a certain point, it's like if you want to help people like your own, like you're going to have to take that upon yourself, right? It just... That's how... You get further.
Or your own, like, maybe make your life easier. You don't have to, like, be out here, you know...
Running for, like, office.
Running for office or, like, thinking everything you do is, you know, how am I going to further my people?
Yeah.
Bro, maybe just do it because it'll make your life easier.
Right.
Literally, it'll make your experience easier.
Eventually,
you'll have interactions
your
with
kids
people
will
that
have an easier time. I don't know. I just think that
But some people don't want to think outside of, like, I need to have an impact. Then, at the very least, you get to have an impact in your life, in your interactions, and I think... that is motivation enough to engage in any of the stuff that we've been talking about.
I agree. I mean, so yeah, we should wrap this up because we could go on forever, especially this topic. But like, you know, the most important thing I think we want to leave as like a takeaway for all of you women who are listening, who are Pakistani or Muslim or even just like a part of a minority, like Holmes, you're only gonna go so far. But like, you know, make it easier for people who are falling behind you, who are not even falling behind you, but like following you, right? Like you are laying down a pathway for women to follow, and it's incredible. So like open those doors, but also like help each other up. So it's like run for things. It's so important. And like my goal is to pretty much get all of my friends to run for office, and that doesn't necessarily mean like federal, right? It doesn't mean like run for like a senator, but like run for your school board. School board races are really small and it's such a low commitment.
Or like how
you are like helping people decide the curriculum in your school.
Yeah, and like
right?
I chaired the like pro bono committee at my firm for paralegals.
Yeah.
And that's a leadership role.
Take on leadership roles, y'all. It's helping honestly, you're helping your future self. You're helping
becoming a president of a club, chairing a committee at the office that you work in,
it's a little extra,
running for a student body. You're a high school, you're middle school. There are ways to get involved in leadership. And I think not beyond just the obvious kind of benefits you get from that, you also get to be a representative and a voice for people that aren't necessarily represented. Yeah,
take care of your own. You know, give money to Muslim female candidates.
Yes.
You know, like, we're all in this together. Yes! Lift each other up and not tear each other down. That is what Hillary said, I think. But anyways, we should definitely wrap this up. We could just go on for days.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, help each other, support Muslim women. That's kind of, like, what this podcast is about. And we want to give you guys, like, the tools. And so... have conversations with your friends, and not even that, like tweet at us and just say like, hey, I have a great idea, or like a really great organization that's helping Muslim women, Pakistani women, just like educate people, you know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, is just like lack of knowledge, right?
Which is, that's how dialogues like this are going to break down the fears people have of engaging in a dialogue. And I think speaking to another person is the fastest way. And that's what we're doing here. So thanks, you guys. Thanks for Sarah for coming on. This is fun, y'all. This is fun.
Hopefully we'll bring it back. Yeah, we want to bring it back.
I'm coming back.
We're like telling all our friends. So you guys,
I want to do like a. I know Josser's been on here before. I want this to be
we should
like
a group 3 of us or something. I like that. Ooh, like a dinner party kind of thing, but like not a dinner party, but you know what I mean.
That would be fun.
Anywho's, you guys, thanks for joining in. Stay tuned for more episodes to come, and thanks so much for watching.